2020 was a terrible year. Awful, but it did give us the Toyota GR Yaris, an objectively good thing. And when you think about it, 2020 is a baseline, something to build on, which is why 2021 can only be better. And weirdly, that's kind of how Litchfield views the original GR Yaris. It's a baseline, it's a starting point.
If you're into GTRs, you'll be familiar with Litchfield. Ian and his team made their name messing with them, making them faster, harder, meaner, everythinger than Nissan provided out of the gate. Since then, Litchfield has turned its hand to Porsche, Alpine, McLaren, and now the GR Yaris.
In its standard trim, the GR Yaris comes with 257 brake horsepower and rally-ish suspension. That means it is punishingly quick and hilarious point to point. It really is a good giggle. Okay, it's a little bit noisy on the motorway, but come on now. It's a rally-inspired hot hatch. It's not a Rolls Royce. One of my favourite things about the standard car is the rally wobble, the way it moves around when you really give it the beans. You can feel the weight shift mid-corner and when you brake and accelerate really heavily. It's kind of like a big Cadillac from the 70s, but developed by a rally legend.
As toys go, it's outstanding, but Litchfield didn't want it to be just a toy, but something to be enjoyed all the time. There were two main areas to address to make it, in Litchfield's eyes at least, bang on: power and suspension.
In its standard guise, the GR Yaris is the most powerful 3-cylinder production car in the world. Its little 1.6 litre turbo motor will get it from 0 to 62 in 5.5 seconds and up to 143 miles an hour. That's quite peppy, but Litchfield's given it a little bit of a tweak. Thanks to an ECU tune and a turbo boost fettle, it now puts out a little over 300 brake horsepower and 284 pound-foot. That should be enough to give the standard figures a little bit of a boost, for want of a better word. If you want that extra grunt, Litchfield charges about 600 quid for it, which is pretty good value.
If you listen very, very carefully, you can hear people on the internet saying, "Oh, but that means the engine will surely go bang. It's built to such tight tolerances that more power will destroy it." Well, armchair engineers, calm yourselves. Ian Litchfield reckons you can happily squeeze way more out of it without making it pop. It's a motor built for rallying after all, and rally cars can hack big power.
When it comes to the ride, Litchfield enjoyed the whole rally wobble thing, but figured the novelty of it would wear off pretty quickly. So job one was to lower it by 40mm. It does give it a sharper, slicker profile, I'll give him that. Then a set of two-way adjustable Nitron dampers was thrown on each corner. Now of course they are adjustable, so you can have whatever setting Litchfield sends the car out with, or you can make it all soft and squidgy, or make it flat and hard and immobile. The idea here is to set up the car so you can best exploit its power, the chassis and the all-wheel drive system. If you want that though, it comes in at a slightly less affordable £3,000-ish.
On top of all that, there are wheel spacers adding 20mm to the track, and the seats are on fresh mounting rails, dropping the hip point by a further 40mm. That means taller drivers can more comfortably hack around circuits with a helmet on, something that they may not have found easy in the stock car. Litchfield has form, we know that much, but this all brings an interesting conundrum to mind. The GR Yaris is excellent, as Akio Toyoda intended. So is messing with the creator's vision a good idea? And if it is, are we still left with a GR Yaris or something new? I mean, the drive modes are the same. Normal with its front power bias, track with its 50-50 front to rear split, and sport sending 70% of the grunt to the back. And it still tells you to drive carefully before it's warmed up, and the pipes still sound naughty.
So, it looks like a GR Yaris, it sounds like a GR Yaris, it quacks like a GR Yaris. Is it a GR Yaris? Well, first and foremost, every time I get in one of these, every time, I suddenly remember how brilliant they are. This gear shift is absolutely incredible. It's so good. It's so short, sharp, direct. There's nothing wasted in it. You just bang, next ratio, bang, next ratio. The clutch, again, decently weighted, which is it's so engaging, it's proper. The brakes on this are awesome too, just a little bit of dab and then you instantly stop. There's all the feedback you could possibly want. So far, it's an excellent, engaging driver's car. The steering, okay, you get that all-wheel drive dullness to it, but it's as sharp as it can be. It just feels mega. But we know all that from the standard car. So what's Litchfield done to change it? Well, we know about the power. The standard car isn't lacking for grunt at all, but that little bit more. This thing flies. It's so much fun. And on this car, they've taken the resonator out of the exhaust. So, good Lord, it sounds good. When you're properly high in the rev range, you hear the car inhale. This has got the right amount of usable power. So you can point and shoot it. Much more than that, and you'd end up fighting with the car. You'd wonder what you needed to do to control it. But as it stands, 300 horsepower, and it seems crazy to say this, 300 horsepower seems just right. You can use it. You don't end up going way too quickly down a country road. With the all-wheel drive system, with the controllability of it, it just glides. It does exactly what you want it to. With Litchfield suspension modifications, with the lowered springs and the trick dampers, this does feel like a sharper car. When you pitch it into a corner, it doesn't move, it doesn't wobble. When you brake hard, when you accelerate hard, it's lost all of that pitch. There's nothing really moving it around. Instead, this feels like a really properly focused hot hatch. It's proper engineering levels of pointy, Renault Sport levels of pointy. It doesn't feel like a rally car anymore. It feels like the limit of this car has been moved way further. There's so much more front-end grip, so much more front-end bite that you can lay down your power a lot earlier. You can get round corners faster in this. Objectively, the Litchfield take on the GR Yaris is a better car. It feels so much more grown up. And for a lot of people, that's going to be the be-all and end-all. It's going to be the perfect solution. You will get round a track quicker. Will you have more fun? That I don't know. Personally, I prefer the playfulness, but there is a certain subset of people who will absolutely adore that this has more grip and it's angrier and it's pointier and it's shoutier. It's a faster, better car. But it's not a GR Yaris anymore. But it still is, because it's got the gear shift and the brakes and the fun farty noises. It's melting my brain a little bit.
This is where things get tricky. See, Litchfield's upgrades make this a better car than the vanilla one. It's sharper, more powerful, and just better at being a hot hatch.
Now the power, I'm 100% behind. It's the springs, that's where I start to get a little bit huffy. You see, the reason I loved the GR Yaris so much, and the reason a lot of people do, is because of how it feels, because of that lean, because of the way it moves, the way it flows from point to point. The new suspension setup removes that core characteristic of the car. So taking that away, well, it seems a little counterproductive.
Except removing it makes it better, so I've something of a dissonance. This to me feels like a sort of GR Yaris R. The Sprinter, time attack, track hack, geared less towards fun and more towards speed. If Toyota was interested in that kind of thing, it feels as though it would have built it.
Where do we stand then? Good car? Excellent car, if a tiny bit out of keeping with the car it's based on. If it were me, I'd definitely go and paint it green, and then I'd be straight up to Litchfield for the power boost. But the springs, they're not really my jam. But hey, my yuck could well be your yum.